Thank God. So in English, is Christ I speak. So today I'd like to share this topic of cry out to Jesus. So I'd like to begin with a story or like a memory from my childhood. So when I was about 3 to 4 years old, my family and I took a trip to the beach. And so it was me, my dad, my mom, I think my brother. I'm sorry. It was me, my brother, and I'm a little hazy on the rest, but I think my cousins and aunts were there as well. But so at the beach, because I was only 3 to 4 years old, I didn't really know how to swim. So I was sitting with my mom and my dad decided to go for a swim. And as I was watching him go for a swim, I saw his figure go farther and farther into the ocean until I couldn't really see him anymore. And I don't know how much time had passed after that. And as I was watching, I saw a ship pass in the distance, or begin to pass from like my right side to my left side. And I don't know why, but at that time I started looking for my dad. So as the ship was going from the right side to the left, I saw something in the water. In retrospect, it was probably just a wave in the ocean, like usual business nature. But I thought it was my dad, funnily enough. So I started crying for him because I didn't want him to get hit by the ship and I wanted him to come back to me. And him getting hit in retrospect again would probably been impossible since he couldn't possibly swim that far that fast, and ships don't sail that close to the people. But all I knew in that moment when I was there was that I wanted my dad to come back. I wanted to see him alive and well, and I thought that he was going to get hit. So as I was crying for him, and as the ship was getting closer, my family tried to calm me down by telling me that it was okay, like that's not him, like, you know, nothing's gonna happen, right? Like, but I didn't stop. And at the time when the ship passed the point, which I thought was my dad, I stopped crying for him and started bawling, like crying noisily, and I couldn't stop. So as you can imagine, a 3 to 4 year old crying is kind of noisy, right? I'm not sure how much time had passed after that, but I didn't know that I wanted my dad to come back. And when he did eventually come back, it wasn't that long actually, or so they tell me, it wasn't that long. He was just really confused on why I was crying for him. So the reason I shared this story is that when Jesus tells us to be like the little children, and it means to humble ourselves, but to also cry sometimes in order to get close to him. So let's turn to a passage in the Bible. Let's turn to Matthew chapter 14. Matthew chapter 14, verse 22 to 33. I believe that we read this passage a few days ago or 2 days ago during our morning sharings. And it's about when Jesus walked on the water to reconvene with his disciples. And the part that I want to focus on is on verse 29 to 31, where Peter had come down from the water and was going to walk on it to meet Jesus. And if we look through the chapters in the book of Matthew up to this point, we see that the disciples have been with Jesus for a very long time. Like, they've seen him perform miracles, cast out demons, heal the sick, and in Peter's case, his own mother-in-law was healed. So Peter had a lot of personal experience with God, with Jesus. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid and began to sink. And so as a result, he cried out to Jesus to save him. And immediately Jesus did. And so I wanted to search for this word immediately because I wanted to know, like, if it was like immediately, like in English. And it was. So I use prima, but the word immediately means like, well, at once or soon. And it's also used when Jesus rose up from the water immediately after he was baptized, and when Peter and Andrew immediately left their nets to follow Jesus. So we know that this word immediately really means immediately, like right away, as Peter was thinking that Jesus reached out and caught him. And the part of the story that really amazes me, because the Bible doesn't say that Jesus was continuing to walk towards his disciples after Peter asked him to walk to him. But even if Jesus was far off, he immediately reached out his hand and was able to catch him. And I think that this can be nothing short of like a miracle, right? Because the disciples saw Jesus afar off, and then he called out to them. But then doesn't really record anything after that. But when Peter was starting to sink, he just reached out and grabbed him. Similar to us, when things get rough, or when we think or we know that we're far from God, I think an important first step is to realize that we do need God. And I think that's why we're all here at NYTS. We've gone out of our comfortable schedules to make the time to worship God on a more focused environment, on a more focused time. But even if we still feel like far, or if we don't know if God's listening to us, we feel like we're talking to nothing, to air, or if we have any worries, I encourage us to all try to cry out to God at least once, because, well, most of us are home, or some of us are home. So you guys can actually cry if you need to, but because, no one's gonna see you. I'm kind of I don't like when people see me cry. But It's because of this that the love of God is greater than anything in this world, greater than our parents' love for us. And like the prodigal, like in the parable of the prodigal son, when we do cry out to God, when we make this determination to leave everything that we've known and to go back to Him, I think God will at least show us a compassion. So let's all kneel down and pray. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray.